Around the country, Republicans are successfully cutting back on voting rights in states like Iowa and Georgia, as we've covered. Meanwhile, in Congress, they've passed HR 1, a bill designed exclusively to make it easier for people to vote. Now, hopefully the Republicans will be good negotiating partners in this and be reasonable. No, they're not. Here's Mike Lee. Here's how he has presented that piece of legislation.
Everything about this bill is rotten to the core. This is a bill as if written and held by the devil himself. This takes all sorts of decisions that the federal government really has no business making.
Yes, because his concern is federalism. That's his big concern. When the federal government does it instead of the states, it's not that he doesn't want voting, but that is enough to make it as if Asmodeus, the Skull Crusher himself, has drafted it. Seems a bit hyperbolic, JR.
Well, that's all they need. Again, this is pointed out many times. How many people know everything that's in a bill? Not many. Many people who vote on the bills don't know what's in bills. So all you have to do is go on TV and then say that Satan wrote a bill, and then you have a certain percentage of people that'll go, "That's right, Satan grabbed a pitchfork and signed that bill himself." I don't know. I wonder if that really sticks in people's minds, because if I'm watching a TV and I see AOC, who I support, say something like that, the devil himself wrote this bill, I'd be like, okay, I think we can get to the problems with the bill without you saying ridiculous things, Alexandria. So anyway, but it works on some people. I don't really understand how that's a tool that gets people on your side. It just doesn't work for me. So maybe I'm just a weird person. But how about what's in it? How about what it does? How about what you're against? Instead, Beelzebub wrote the bill. And did you know that then who's the Cain and Abel? Who's the bad guy? Cain.
I'm not really the Bible
then
guy.
Cain came out and took the same knife and stabbed the Bill, just like he did his brother. Like, who cares? Who cares? Just what problem do you have with it? The problem you have with it is that it'll give people access to voting. What you don't want is people to have access to voting, because somehow you're against democracy in America, even though you tout it so much. Again, America's the greatest democracy in the world. America's the greatest democracy in the world. America's that shining example on the hill. Greatest democracy. What is this, democracy? And you're against the same thing you keep promoting every time you want to pump up how great America is, but you're against those things that you say make America great. Which one is it, bro?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
just
and
Beelzebub wrote it, and then you don't have to have any explanation for your flawed logic.
Oh, totally. And also, it's very efficient because you are broadcasting to a group of people that includes the deranged. And what would you do if you thought someone was in league with Satan in passing legislation? Would you just try to get him in the next election? Or would you potentially be predisposed to violence? Stay tuned and find out in the next season of American Democracy. Oh, and by the way, there are literally millions of Americans that believe that Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton are drinking baby blood with Satan. So when you just throw around that they're in league with Satan, it's also a sop to the Q people. That's what it is. You're referencing Satan because they believe it's Donald Trump versus Satan, rather than them two playing like 18 holes together. And by the way, in terms of the logic that Jared was talking about, how out of touch what the bill does is what they're saying. Even in that segment, it's pretty out of touch. So he's talking about Satan and all that. I looked at the actual graphic. Here's the actual graphic that was next to him. Implements mandatory automatic voter registration. Allows voters to substitute photo ID with a sworn written statement. Dear God, expands mail-in voting in this economy. Now restores voting rights for convicted felons. Probably does make them piss their pants, their pleated pants. Encourages statehood for Washington D.C. Oh my God, it's Beelzebub. He's behind this. That's another one of those Fox things where they just put a graphic up where I'm like, yes, more please. How is that objectively scary?
Because they've convinced people long enough that all these things are the worst things ever, with absolutely no explanation as to why. You don't need the why, you just need to say, they're trying to do this to you. The fact that we've allowed ourselves to come into this nature of, hey, that side's trying to get you. And in many Republicans have been convinced of that without thinking about it. Yes, Democrats, libs, progressives are all against what Republicans do. But then after you say, hey, you know what those Republicans are doing? There's usually a sentence or two afterwards saying what those Republicans are actually doing. that you're against. So you can be against someone's ideology if you talk about it, but instead you go, do you know Democrats are trying to pass a bill?
Yeah.
And then that's your argument. That's it. As long as they're trying to do something, be against it. That's all it is. There's no explanation behind it. Just a bad guy wrote it. I don't like him, so don't like him either. That's the political discussion we're having now that people can't follow.
Eddie O'Donnell says they're threatening us with a good time. Exactly.
Jesus.
Craig is saying in the tune of Jesus take the wheel, Satan take the bill. Oh God, we live in crazy times.
So the next question to Mike Lee should then be, so if fewer people, why do you want fewer people to vote? Because it really is the objective. Why do you want fewer people to vote? Why do you want fewer people to vote? Not
you know what they'd say. Because it's fraudulent.
No.
As we said,
fewer people to vote?
You can't let people vote at 8:30. They'll commit the frauds. You have to cut it off at 8.
Yeah, and then and to make them go with the reason why they call them gotcha questions is because it gets journalists potentially to not ask them very normal follow-up questions like, so can you give me some instances of how this potential voting problem has upended American democracy and how everything is fraudulent? Can you tell me that? Because there have been studies about how none of these things actually do any of those things. So there is proof on one side, and then there's Satan on the other. These are the discussions we're having. So until you make the people that are talking about Satan signing bills give proof of their argument, don't listen to them. Let them go on Fox News and spot it. But I guess that's good enough for them.
Yeah. I don't know why he's worried, man. Satan can write all the bills he wants until they get rid of the filibuster, it's never to pass. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.